What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and I have a special video series for you. And it is a video series because this video from Inception that I will be reacting to is just way too good. And it's not just a reaction video on Inception's video, it's a reaction that includes Nick Runs the Foot Market reacting to the Inception video. That was literally an hour long. I think it was like 72 minutes, to be honest. Nick cut it down to like 52 minutes. And the reason why this is so important to break down and share is because these two are, for one, two FC/football game content creators that actually speak the truth about the game. Out of many fraud content creators for both FC and all football games, these two not only speak the truth about the game, but are very knowledgeable. Two people that I've followed since 2022 and will continue to follow. And I strongly suggest if you don't, you look to them for guidance as well. And it's not that everything they say is right, because while I agree with the vast majority of what they say, and you'll see for yourself that they share a lot of the same sentiments as me, I definitely disagree in some areas, right? And everybody's going to have their own take. Disagreeing doesn't mean that we're totally on a different page. It just is a different take on the game and football games in general. But nonetheless, it's very important to utilize this and spread it, because these are issues that are holding FC back, and it also translates into other football games. You will see exactly what I mean, and it's too much information to break down in one video. That is why I said this will be a series. So let's get into episode 1 and see what both Inception and Nick had to say, and I will give you my feedback on that. Enjoy.
Like FC25, it's been a bad year. Like, everybody will tell you that. Creators, I think a lot of people playing. But I'm curious to see what he's saying. He's saying the worst game in the franchise. And let me tell you something. From knowing Inception, that's a lot for him to say, because he has a deep hatred for FIFA 19, as do I. So for him to put that in his title, that's quite a bit to say. So I'm curious to see his points, guys. We're going to get into it. And I'm going to put it on 1.25 speeds.
So if I speak with passion in this video, guys, don't take it too seriously, because I'm at a point where I don't care anymore, right? And I think a lot of you guys just understand this, because
I'm there too. Like, if you guys haven't been able to tell, like, especially this year with how the game has gone, I'm at that point too. I just with what EA is releasing and giving us gameplay and content wise, I don't care anymore either. I make a lot of effort into the content that.
So right off the bat, if you follow my channel, you know that this is exactly where I have been for a long time now. If you don't know, I started my channel when FC was in the doghouse, before the big update that brought it back to relevance, and I did not cover it at all. My entire channel at the start was built around UFL. I totally rallied around UFL. No eFootball, no nothing else. I was convinced after the initial release that UFL could turn to a great game. I love that it was almost full manual based on defense. It had wide open play. It had a lot of work to do, right? It wasn't very polished, but you could use any tactics, and your knowledge of those tactics could help you succeed. So I was loving UFL, and then all types of patches came, and every single one made the game worse and worse. Added in broken things that weren't even broken before the patch that was meant to make the game better. They started copying all of the bad things from FC. Meanwhile, FC's coming out with these patches that are turning the game better and going away from these nonsense things that UFL didn't even have at the beginning. They started adding. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was literally like self-sabotage, and it led me to feel the same way as these guys are feeling now, where I was just like, done. And this is from a brand new content creator, but even though I'm a brand new content creator as far as football games go, I've been playing them my whole life. I just recently decided that I wanted to start helping people. I felt like there was a huge void in football gaming content creation in general. And so that's where I started on my journey as far as UFL goes. And then as they started turning their game into trash, I started covering both FC and eFootball. And all three had their good things, and they still do, but all three have these crazy, like, unbelievable nonsense things that it's almost unexplainable that why they're still in the game, why they're not fixed, as well as these low skill rats that are ruining the game. When you combine that, you have football games, 3 of them, that are all in terrible spots. That's just the truth. And as someone who is passionate about football games and also who started this to help people, I have to be honest. So I can't just lie and say this game's good or this game's good. And so I constantly am going between the games, trying to find the best in them, but seeing all this nonsense, and I have to be honest about it. But also as a gamer, I am frustrated about it to the point where it gets exhausting. And that's exactly what these guys are talking about.
Let's get started from the gameplay perspective, right? The gameplay, I can stop the video just by saying this one thing, and I don't need to say anything else, okay? You guys already know what I'm going to say, but this year it's even worse because now it's two things, okay? Inconsistent gameplay makes every iteration of FIFA and FC a terrible video game. You guys are nostalgic. You guys go back to FIFA 21, FIFA 20, FIFA 19, FIFA 18, FIFA... It doesn't matter what FIFA it is. They have never fixed that issue, which makes the game terrible. And this is mainly for the console perspective because I've had to switch to PC, because if I had to continue doing content on the console version with this new built-in lag delay that exists on the console, I would...
It's so bad. It's like this new, it's so bad. I made a video in the second channel. I can't play on console anymore. I can't. And I don't, it's so messed up for everyone who watches this, because most people play on console. They're ruining the game that's for console. This is not a game for PC to be able to play. Like, it's great. It runs well on PC. It runs 40 times better on PC. EA's got to figure whatever they did this year. It's so bad. It's so input delayed on console now. It's insane.
So again, if you follow my channel, you know I talk about this nonstop with FC in particular. Fortunately, UFL and eFootball, at least for me, I don't experience this. Now, I will say people do talk about UFL, and I have experienced it some. I feel like every game has some kind of lag delay, command delay, whatever you want to call it, server issues. The bottom line is FC is the worst by far. Even though people in certain areas with eFootball say it's unbearable, similar to FC, I can't speak on that because I don't have that issue. In UFL, a lot of it was user cause, where they could disconnect all the time, and then you do feel lag delay every now and then. And then you have FC, where there's an argument over what players are causing and what is wrong with the actual game or the servers or whatever. And you'll hear in a little bit Nick and Inception explain this, but let's just talk initially about what we know is wrong with it, whether it's player cause or game cause. It's so constant, right? You so rarely get good gameplay that it makes FC the most frustrating game ever, and it's got worse and worse and worse. And since these updates have came out, since I started playing again after the breaks I took, if you noticed today I talked about it, and I was asking other players that are playing FC more consistently, like, what is this? Players literally feel like they all of a sudden aren't in control at all. Passes are so delayed, shots are so delayed, and by the way, it isn't the same for both players all the time. There's times when both sides are delayed, then there's times where it's just you, there's times when it's just your opponent. The best way to find this out is if you're playing and literally your opponent can't get a pass off, everything they do, you're right on top of them. They go to shoot, and you literally can take the ball just about every time. They can't do anything. You know that they're experiencing that delay that you feel when you feel like you can't do anything and your opponent's right on top of you. It's very simple, but players seem to only notice it typically when it's going against them, right? And I get it, because when things are going good, you want to feel yourself, right? You're thinking you're the man, you're doing great, you're just smoking this team, you're passing the ball around, they can't touch you. Most of the time, it's because of the same thing you experience when you can't do anything because everything's so delayed. And it happened to me game after game after game on stream today in Champs. But the bad part is you can't always tell. It's the same thing that Anders Vergang went through when he was at the Bundesliga Championship, and he was asking his team, like, you can see it on screen, right? You can see that it's lagging, right? And he was so worried about it because he knew what all these trolls, what all these low-level players that benefit from this kind of thing, what they all say, like, oh, excuses, that's not true, that's not in the game. These idiots have to know. If they're that dumb that they can't tell that they're winning because of lag, that there's lag in the game, then I don't know what to say. But you can see it all over the place on different social media, on different threads and stuff. And it's great to have two content creators like Inception and Nick actually talking about this, because many of them don't, especially the pros who want to lie to you and be snake oil salesmen because they're afraid they're going to lose viewers, or they're going to run people from playing the game because they say it's bad. So they just lie, or they brush over the issues. And you can't do that. You have to be honest with your viewers. It's nonsense. And that's why I'm sharing this, because I know that many people out there are experiencing this. Because when I first started, all the way back in 22, as far as playing competitively goes, I literally thought it was my internet. Almost even thought about moving apartments because I was like, man, the internet's so bad here. Until finally, out of all the nonsense content creators that just wouldn't speak about the issues, I finally found people like Inception that would. Now, Nick at the beginning wasn't as open, and then he started becoming open as people were complaining. And I'm glad he did, because I really like Nick. But I'm just saying, it was hard to even find people talking about these issues. And it's since gotten even worse.
I started a Road to Glory series this year that did not last a long time, and it's not really worth me posting, to be honest with you, because of that lag delay. And you know what? It still exists, because every single time I had to do an icon review where I have the 5-game loans, and I'm like, oh no, I don't have enough footage for the 5-game loan. So now I have to go on the console to use the other loan for 5 more games or whatever it is, right? Every single time I've hopped on the console, I'm like, how does this have an audience, brother? How does this have an audience? The gameplay core mechanics aside, which we're going to talk about, right? The gameplay core mechanics aside, how is this being played? Now you have inconsistent gameplay, which some of you still don't understand what that is, right? Because the best version of gameplay is actually pretty solid, but
It's like when you go on, guys, and like, you know, you go on at like an off time and the game just feels horrible and it's not server related. There's something actually in the game that's coded wrong in the hypermotion system that they've never been able to fix. There's something that makes the game actually just bad sometimes when it's not even lag related. It's just input bad gameplay. You'll notice it because sometimes you play the game and your players, everyone has had this experience. You go on one day and you're flying. You're flying. Like you're like, what? Am I in this server? Right? And then you go on some days and it's not the lag because you're on good connection. Your players take like emphasis touches. Everything takes more time. Your players feel like they're throwing up to do any animation. So that's a real thing.
So there you have it. The biggest thing that I want to take from this is, one, they don't talk about player caused lag. So maybe it doesn't exist, or maybe it's just not something they are talking about right now. But either way, it has to be fixed, and it's not even being talked about, much less being fixed. But the bottom line is this: it's hard to believe, as my buddy from the community calls it, that there's not lag spikes from players because of the times that it happens in the game. Whether it's like you're on a great scoring chance, or your opponent's in a predicament, or they're on a scoring chance, and all of a sudden the lag hits you like crazy. I had it happen earlier where I took the lead in like the 90th minute, and this player couldn't do anything against me all game. And next thing you know, I could not move. He ends up scoring 2 goals within stoppage time and wins the game. And it literally was night and day from the rest of the game. I was able to stop him over and over and over. And then boom, all of a sudden my players become cones. They can't move at all. They're not reacting. I can't player switch. And it's hard to believe that he didn't have a hand in that. Now let's just say he didn't. And let's just say that it is exactly what Nick and Inception are talking about. It's something within the coding. Either way, the inconsistent gameplay and the lag delay exist. And that's the second thing I want to talk about, is that I never separated the two. Because every time your players feel exactly what Nick was saying, where they can't move, they can't do anything right, just like what I was talking about earlier, where sometimes your team's feeling that way and you can't breathe and the opponent's right on you, and sometimes you're doing that to the opponent. That's what they're talking about with the inconsistent gameplay. But I always associated that as the same thing as the lag. So it's interesting to hear them say that it's something different. The bottom line, though, whether it's lag delay separated from inconsistent gameplay, separated from player-caused lag spikes, as like I said, my buddy calls it, it all needs to be addressed, and none of it is being addressed. There's even a ton of idiots, which you know are the, like I said earlier, the low-skill, low-level rats that benefit from these issues because they take away from the skilled players whooping them. It allows these low-level players to compete, so of course they're going to be in denial, but it just gets old hearing all the time and hearing, oh, excuses, skill issue, when it's so obvious. Now, even if these guys know that it's true, I know they're not going to say it, so who cares what they think, but it does definitely get old having to lose to these players because of this nonsense, and it gets old even more having to deal with it and not know if you're going to get good gameplay or not, from game to game, from half to half, from literally minute to minute. EA Sports must address this, because this is literally the biggest issue that is holding them back, and that will continue to hold them back from truly being a great game, right? They've typically been the best football game kind of by default, but even if eFootball and UFL never get their stuff together and, FC continues to be the top game just because the competition is stupid, it still doesn't mean that it's not frustrating as hell to play FC. So let's hope that if enough people bring this up, it finally gets addressed, because it blows my mind that they had this huge update and so many things were talked about. Somehow this got skipped over. It's crazy. And so now we need everybody to raise hell about this so that FC does the same thing they did with the big patch previously. And if for some reason they can't fix it, they need to come out and say it so that we aren't sitting here hoping that this gets fixed when it truly never will. Now, obviously, that's probably never going to happen because that would affect their bottom line big time, but there needs to be something done. It is the worst issue to deal with in all football gaming, not just FC, but of all the issues in all three games, which there is a lot. Dealing with this inconsistent gameplay and lag delay, if there's something separate, which, like I said, that's new to me to consider them something separate, it or they, as far as being multiple issues, need to be addressed. And rarely do you see content creators talking about this, largely due to the fact, I'm willing to bet, that they don't want to lose viewers. They don't want to say, hey, this is how the game's always going to be, and players go, screw that, I'm going to eFootball, I'm going to UFL, and now the content creators don't get their clicks, their views, their money, or whatever. I'm telling you that this is a major issue. It is real, and year after year, nobody talks about it. We need to change that, and I am extremely happy that at least Nick and Inception have brought this up, and I just wanted to further echo their sentiments. And there is a lot more that I want to echo, so stay tuned for more episodes breaking down this incredible piece on the current state of FC 25, FC as a franchise, and honestly, many topics that are going to be discussed transcend into both UFL and eFootball, just in football games in general. So I look forward to breaking down the rest of this incredible video with you, giving you my take on it. And as always, keep grinding, keep having fun. Please join our Discord. We'd love to have you. The link is in the bio within YouTube. And I will see you on the next one. Peace out.
This is actual unplayable garbage. Inconsistent gameplay with lag delay? What are we talking about?